Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm so glad you all are here. So, my name is Becca Boland. I'm the iREAD Content and Development Manager. These two lovely humans on the screen are my parents. They were both marketing and communications folks, managers and directors through their time. My mom particularly loved to work with associations and not-for-profits. And my dad did a lot of conferences and trade shows. So I feel like I'm walking in their footsteps. And I also wanted you all to know that, by birth, I am a marketing person, even though I'm a librarian. This is what we're going to talk. We did the quick poll. Done. Check, check. What is iREAD and why should I use it? We're going to talk a little bit about the flexibility of the program because I think that's probably what you all most need to hear about. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about Level Up at Your Library, which is 2025's theme, and show you some of the art and artists and that sort of thing. And then we are going to have some questions and answers. So for those of you who are vaguely familiar, or even if you're super familiar, I don't think that people always know that iREAD is a program that's developed by librarians for librarians. The committee is a group of Illinois librarians. The resource guide is developed by librarians across the country. And it's all folks that are actively working in libraries. These are tried and true, tested programs, book lists, anything that you might need to do your summer reading program. And I think for this group, one of the things that I really want to point out to you all is that iREAD is a lot of what funds the Illinois Library Association. And I think we have all seen that in the last few years, there have been a lot of challenges in libraries. I don't need to tell you all the things that we've dealt with. But, part of why Illinois libraries are so strong is because of ILA and the advocacy work we do in Springfield and beyond. So I just think that's a really important thing to keep in mind when you're thinking about summer reading and you're making a choice as to what program you're going to use, or if you're going to develop your own. The ways in which using a program like iREAD is beneficial beyond just like having a fun theme to work with. We go back to 1982. Again, I don't think that everybody realizes this. The first theme was A to Zebra. You'll see some of the art there. Very 80s, very summer fun. And every year we develop a new theme with a new tagline. We work with between 4 and 6 artists to create unique art for the program, but it goes all the way back to Ann Barrett Hutton, who got a group of librarians in Illinois together and said, hey, wouldn't summer reading be easier if we collaborated? And that's really what the foundation of iREAD was built on. So the way that I describe iREAD to folks is that it's one of these like classic yellow buckets of Legos. That's what the resource guide is. So I hand you this bucket of Legos and you can build, you can build a crane, you can build a camera, you can build a Vespa, you can build a castle, whatever it is that you want to build. You can just use the red pieces, you can use the whole bucket. It's all up to you. We don't have any limits or parameters on the ways in which you implement the program. We just want you to have all of the tools in your bucket to do it the most effectively that you possibly can. So keeping that in mind while we're discussing this today, I think is really, really helpful in terms of a framework, because we don't really have a whole heck of a lot of rules when it comes to iREAD and how you implement it. And I'm going to show you some examples from last year, from 2024, so that you can see kind of the flexibility and the ways that different libraries interpreted and implemented the theme. So another thing is, I know, just for background for you all, I was a public librarian for almost 20 years. And so I've worked in developing and implementing summer reading programs within libraries. And I know that sometimes the way that the files get shared, you don't get access to everything you actually might need, or you don't have the time to do like a deep dive into what's actually there. So when you get the arts and graphics folder, I would recommend asking for the entire folder, having access to it, whether you put it on a shared drive, whether you put it on a thumb drive and pass it around the library is up to you all. There's only going to be one person from the library that's going to download the resource guide. It's going to be in two parts. The first part is the resource guide itself. That's where printables and book lists and craft ideas and decoration ideas and all of the stuff that the librarians are going to use to develop their programming and decorate the library and all of that is going to be there. In the art and graphics folder, as you can see, you're going to have a folder for each of the artists that we have worked with. So usually we work with between 4 and 6 illustrators every year, award-winning, amazing illustrators, and I'll tell you more about those in a little bit. You get all the badges that you need for digital programming. We also work with pretty much all of the digital logging software companies, so Beanstack, Reader Zone, Read Squared, all of those. They have our art and it should be in their platform already for you to implement just directly from there. You don't even have to worry about the badges if you don't want to. But also a lot of libraries like to use those badges as they'll make them into pins or they'll use them visually as some sort of like reminder in the library. So those are yours to use. In the posters file are 4 versions of every poster. So you'll see the one like the one behind me now, that's English. There's going to be another one that is bilingual English and Spanish. So just quick recap. You'll have each of the posters from each of the artists in English, English and in Spanish, English in a blank space for a language of your choice, and then just blank. So if you want to change the tagline or put in a couple of different languages or put in your library's information, that's all available in the posters section. We also have all of the t-shirt graphics available. If you wanted to use our art that we have on our t-shirts, but make it custom to your library. I know a lot of libraries like to put sponsors or library logos or whatever the case may be. You're welcome to do that with the graphics that we have. You can use your own printer or you can buy them from us, whatever works easiest and best. And then in bonus art, you're going to get additional art from Patrick Gerard. Patrick is a graphic designer. His primary art, I guess, is that he works for like Highlights and those type of magazines that are geared towards kids. So his art is very cartoony and fun, and it has that kind of like Highlights vibe to it. And he does original art for us every year. So if you see the Patrick Gerard folder from last year, it's not going to be the same content as this year. We also include all of our incentive graphics. So if you go into our store, iReadprogram.org/store. Also, just if you go to our iReadprogram.org and choose browse all in the upper left, you'll see it there. So any of those like little graphics that we used for pens or headphones or whatever the case may be, you'll see there. It's a lot of line art there too, because we have had to develop the art into line art in order to have it on incentives and be one color printing. All of the social media graphics that we have designed are in that folder too. I'll show that to you. The Zoom backgrounds, like the one that I have now, are in there. And then we have some miscellaneous logos and sort of things that we've created over the course of the last year that people have asked us for in the past. So we just include them so that you have everything that you might need. Also, if you're seeing something, if you're not seeing something that's in the folder that you would like a particular file type or some sort of an image or whatever the case may be, reach out to us at iRead@ila.org. And if we have it, we're happy to share it with you. But these files are so big that if we put every single version of every file and everything we've ever developed in there, no one will ever be able to download it, right? So we have a lot in that folder, and if you've never really done a deep dive into it, now is a really good time to do that because, it's November. We're just starting to think about summer reading if you are at all. I know a lot of people start in January, March. It's a really good time at this like quieter time of year in libraries to kind of take a deep dive and start brainstorming. So this is the kind of art you're going to see in the social media folders. I'm showing you last summer's art because I want to show it to you in comparison with some of the ways that people have used and remixed the theme. So this is what you would find in that social media folder. It can be a header for Facebook or, whatever social media you use. We also have the avatars for social media prepared in those files as well. Again, you do not have to use them. You can remix them. You can put your library's logo. You can put the dates of the program in there. It's really up to you. But this is what we give you to start. So I wanted to show you some of the ways that people use the art that we give them in a way that suits kind of their library and their community and their vision for summer reading. So as you can see, Sioux City kind of did a collage of a lot of the Jason Chin art from last year. They took the background of that we provided, and I'm seeing chat and I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, good. I'm glad to know that that's not something that you saw, and we can work on that together. Oopsie doodles. Okay, so and then you can see that this other library used the art and used that as the inspiration for the color story that they were using. They added that little green vibes and some swirls, and used that visually as their theme for 2024. So this is kind of using the art that we have. This is what I'm calling a remix. So for example, on the left, you'll see kind of the forest and the tree and all of that other stuff. That's not our art, but the owl and the young lady in the forest are. So they kind of did their own thing with that. And on the right, the Read, Renew, Repeat, that's hand lettering by Zoe Persico, which is another thing that if we have hand lettering, we were trying to isolate it and put it in those files as well so that you can use it however you see fit. You'll see that from Oge Mora's art. There's kind of a speech bubble that reads "Level Up at Your Library," and that's going to be included in the files that you got for 2025. But these birds are not our art, and that's fine. So they kind of, put the things together. Again, this is a different interpretation of our art, putting it on backgrounds that are reflective of the communities that they're in, kind of taking the art and zooming in to make a little triptych in the bottom. I think, these are, and then they used the font similar to what we used to create these files. I also wanted to say, and I don't think people realize this, that if your library is trying to do something a little bit different, like you have something going on in your community, maybe it's the library's birthday, maybe it's the village's anniversary, maybe you have some village-wide initiative that you're trying to work into summer reading, you don't have to use the theme that we developed. It is going to be more work for you, but if you're okay with that, if you like the vibe, the theme, but you don't like the tagline, or the tagline doesn't work for your community, you are welcome to change it. So on the left, you'll see a mug that was created by Thomas Ford in 2022 when the theme was Read Beyond the Beaten Path. So they took the art and they decided that they wanted to call it Read S'more. which is funny because we almost called it that year, but there's an established summer reading program in Minnesota, which is one of our state partners, called Read Some More. So we couldn't actually use that tagline, and that's why we went with Read Beyond the Beaten Path. But this library was like, this is what works best for us and works best for our community. So that's what we're going to go with. And that's totally fine. Like, that's part of the beauty and the flexibility of this program. So this is kind of I'm going to show some ideas of folks that used our tagline but created their own art. I know that a lot of libraries have like a little mascot or like visually something that is unique to that library. And so that's great too. Like, if you are lucky enough to have a full graphics department or folks on staff that are great with graphic design, and you have an aesthetic for your marketing materials, um, you're absolutely welcome to take Read, Renew, Repeat and align that with that aesthetic, with that visual kind of continuity that goes along with the rest of your programming and your marketing materials. So these are just some examples of folks who kind of went their own way. They took the heart of the program, they took the name of the program, but then they developed graphics that worked best for them. And you'll see, some of our partners around the country do that. It's not just folks in Illinois. So they liked whatever the recycling arrows, but the graphics we provided just weren't the right touch. And so they developed their own. This, I wanted to show you, like, to me, both of these are like pretty far removed from what I thought of when I thought about Read, Renew, Repeat and what that looked like visually, but that's fine. Like, if you want cats on books and plants on books, I feel like they went with the like conservation of self-care kind of vibe at the Lincoln Library. Great, love it. Bloomington had these really beautiful flowers, and it was very much a kind of like both tropical and earthy vibe that they went with. I got to visit the Bloomington Public Library, and they did use Read, Renew, Repeat. But in some of their publicity, they just called it summer reading. And I know that there's a lot of libraries that are just calling it summer reading, not just, you're calling it summer reading, or just focusing on reading and literacy as the kind of foundation of the program. Again, totally cool, totally great. We love it. And as I was discussing earlier, some libraries have their own little official mascot for the library. And then they work that into the theme one way or another, depending on, kind of what's happening in the library this summer. Again, like, this is just totally to me, a totally a different vibe than our art. And that is really great. Like, I think it's beautiful. I love it. If I could offer folks a million different artists and a million different interpretations, I would, but unfortunately I just can't. So again, this is when you are in the library, this is up top, this is Normal Public Library. The bottom is Westmont. When you're in the library, you see these colors, you see these images reflected throughout the library in their marketing, in their decorating, in their everything. And it's super cohesive, it's super beautiful, and absolutely, I think, works beautifully. So I'm going to share some of our art and artists for 2025 with you. First, it's Level Up at Your Library. It's games and puzzles. For those of you who aren't as familiar with iREAD or may not have had access to the entirety of the program previously, and may have never gone to one of our webinars or presentations at conference or whatever the case may be, I wanted to show you a little bit about who we are, how we move forward, what we build our foundation on, all of that other good stuff. So our mission for 2025 is play, games, puzzles, play. Play is one of the ways that we learn to relate to others, to think in new ways, and to foster friendships new and old. Level Up at Your Library is an all ages summer reading program based around puzzles and games. Whether you're playing with STEM concepts or gamifying your reading logs, learning to play chess, or how to code video games, iRead 2025 Level Up at Your Library reminds us that libraries are not just a space for knowledge, they are a space for fun. And reading this reminds me that reading logs are also part of the program. So in the general resource guide section, in the PDF folders are logs that we've developed, that other librarians and libraries have developed, that you're welcome to use as either a foundation for the reading logs that you're developing, or you can just use them as they are. I know that not every library does paper reading logs. I know that not every library has their marketing folks do their reading logs. Sometimes the youth department or the teen librarian will do that. But I did want to remind you that, again, like, one of the things about this program that I think is so important and so fundamental and so useful is that we provide pretty much everything you need to do a summer reading program in the resource guide. And in particular, the 2025 resource guide is about twice as big as it normally is. It's almost 600 pages of content. And so there is, if you can dream it, it's probably in there in some way, shape, or form. There's coloring pages, there's activity pages. And again, I know at a lot of libraries, that's something that falls on the youth librarians to print out and develop. But there are some libraries that, again, because you have a certain aesthetic, that the marketing folks would be the ones that would develop those kind of printouts that you would have around the library for folks to use passively as they're in the space throughout the summer. So our first artist for 2025 is Ruth Chan. Ruth has illustrated the title, Have You Seen Gordon? It is a delightful search and find, kind of like a Where's Waldo book, but with these really cute little critters. We have so much of this art for next year, like way more than we normally do. Ruth was very generous in allowing us to create spot art. So there is so many fun little critters doing fun little things in the resource guide. If you have not read this book or looked at this book, Have You Seen Gordon? I highly recommend making a stop in your children's department and checking it out. It's just really charming. There's some social emotional learning stuff in there. And I just adore it. It's the first book of a series. So the next book is going to come out, I believe, in either fall 2025 or early 2026. Next summer, we'll also launch the Have You Seen Gordon animated series. It just happens to align with iREAD, so we're really excited about that. And I just think he's just the charmingest, most delightful little purple taper you ever did see. What a gentleman. Okay, Maura, if you were lucky enough to be at the ILA conference in October, Oge Mora was our speaker for the Youth Services Breakfast. She was amazing. There was not a dry eye in the house by the time she was done speaking. I absolutely adore her art. I think she's a collage artist, so it's very textural. It's very bright. It's very colorful. I love it. We're actually using art from two of her books. I'm From by Gary R. Gray Jr. and Everyone in the Red Brick Building. Again, if you have the opportunity to go and check out these books in your children's department, I think you'll absolutely be charmed by them. And we are just so excited to have Oge as part of our spot art collection. Carrie Peach is the graphic artist for the series The Adventure Zone. It's based on a podcast by the same name. So that podcast is very Dungeons and Dragons. It's basically a live Dungeons and Dragons kind of listening thing. They have different series. And so Carrie created this amazing art where, um, as you can see in the poster and kind of in the spot art that I've included, um, it's a balance of folks like in the quote unquote real world, in the library, collaborating, playing games together, doing research, all of that other good stuff, working on their Dungeons and Dragons campaigns. And then also this imagined world. So you'll see those same characters reflected in this kind of D&D style art. And of course, the dragon, who doesn't love a good dragon? We just are enamored with her art. It's so charming, and the color palette is gorgeous. And it's just a really, really fun time. And with more and more libraries adding Dungeons and Dragons into their program offering, and it just being so very popular right now, we feel like this artist kind of can't miss. Last but not least, Vanessa Brantley Newton. She is an artist who has done like just tons and tons of picture books. She has done greeting cards for, all of the major greeting card companies. If you gifted anyone something from Target's holiday collection 2023, she was one of the artists that designed a lot of the ornaments and gift bags and all of that other beautiful stuff for their holiday collection. Her art has a nostalgia to it that we really, really love. It's full of color, it's full of movement, and we just absolutely adore it. And something I want to remind you all, with all of this art, it is yours in perpetuity. So there's some libraries that decide that they're going to do one set of art for kids, one set of art for teens, one set of art for adults, or one set for kids, one set for teen and adults, or they're just choosing one artist to use for the entirety of the summer, and they're keeping it cohesive, and it's going to work for everybody. All of that is great. And this art, if you have art from last year, if you have art from 3 years ago, if you have art from 10 years ago, it's yours to use in your library. So if you want to add it to marketing materials, if you want to put it up on social media, if you want to create a winter reading program with a previous artist or, a future artist, whatever the case may be, if you're not going to use it for the summer, that's up to you. You can use it for your friends of the library and their book sales. You can use it to decorate the library. Fossil Ridge put one of our posters on their library card, which turned out absolutely gorgeous. And it wasn't just for the summer. It's like their new it's their new library card. So all of those are yours to play with in whatever way suits both you and your library and your community, right? So it's really, really flexible. So I really encourage you all to take a good look at that art, because even if it isn't what you're using for the summer, you can use it for other things. And we encourage you to do that. So think on that. I am going to share with you all the public service and yes, I'm going to share with you all the public service announcement, because this is another one of those things where um, you get the MP4 file and you can use it however you see fit. So let me show it to you real quick.
Gordon, do you want to play hide and seek?
Can you hear?
Have you seen Gordon? Is he eating a hot dog?
No.
Is he sitting on a bus stuck in traffic?
No.
Is he painting a picture in the park?
No.
Or is he heading to the library wearing a colorful shirt that makes him very easy to see? Hey, Gordon, you're supposed to be hiding.
I don't want to hide. I want to be the one looking for a great book to read this summer.
Have you leveled up at your library? There's a summer reading program for everyone.
That's a great idea. I should sign up too.
Visit your library today.
Level up at your library with summer reading programs for kids, teens, adults, and tapers.
Okay. So one of the great things about the public service announcement is, like I said, you get the files for it. So you can put it up on your screens in the library, you can put it on social media, you can use it however you see fit. But you can also edit it. So if you wanted to include your own library's logo, if you wanted to include the dates of the program, if you wanted to include links to your social media, to your website, whatever the case may be, you're able to do that. And then you can share it widely. You can share it in the community. If, you know, when you go to, I know in my community in Mount Prospect, when you go to like the park district and that sort of thing, they have screens within the different complexes that will show what's going on in the community or in the park district or whatever the case may be. So this is another thing that is yours to play with in whatever way suits you and your library, right? These are the voice actors for the Have You Seen Gordon animated series that I was telling you all about. Um, and and so like I don't know about you all, but I know that like no library I ever worked at could have created a 1-minute animated promo for the library using professional voice actors. Um, if you can, like, wow, great, awesome. But it's really nice to have something like this that you can kind of play with and remix, so that you have a really professional digital um, billboard, I guess, promo, PSA, uh, that you can use within your library. Oh, Gordon, hush now. Okay. I wanted to leave plenty of time to answer any questions, to have a discussion, to talk a little bit more about what we have available in the resource guide and how to use it, ways to remix, ways to think about the program. What questions do you have for me?
First and foremost, thank you, Becca, for sharing all that wonderful information about iRead. And with that, everyone who's joining us, please feel free to unmute yourselves, turn on your camera. Your camera's not required, but we'd love to see your face. But unmute yourself and you feel free to ask Becca any and all questions related to iRead.
You can also put questions in the chat if you don't have access to a camera or a mic right now. I'm happy to answer them. I think I just really wanted you all to know and understand the flexibility of this program. You know, I see a lot of libraries, and sometimes it's driven by the librarians, and I totally understand that, who really just like reinvent the wheel and start from scratch when it comes to summer reading. And you just really don't have to do that. I know that all of us are spread super duper thin. We all have a ton going on that we're responsible for and trying to get done. So, you know, if you can take one thing off of your plate, you can still be really, really creative with the program. I don't know if you all are folks that get our newsletter, but after summer, I included a slideshow of all of the different like programs and things that happened in 2024 at different libraries around the country. And it's so cool to see something like this, like a general concept like read, renew, repeat, interpreted in so many ways, all of which are a reflection of the community that the library serves. And that's what's most important to us is like, one, giving you as much information as possible that you can use however you see fit. And two, making sure that you can have art, programming, decorations, social media that is a reflection of your library and the community that you serve. We really try hard to make sure that we have available things available multilingually. We try really hard to make sure that the art is diverse, not only in the art style, but also in the folks that are creating it. and the people that you see in the art that we're providing. So you'll see a wide variety of shapes and sizes of folks, disabilities, ethnicities, um, as much as we can and as much as the artists that we work with feel comfortable. And then we stop and we do it all over again for the next year. Um, so much time, so much work goes into this, and some of it is being done by folks in your libraries right now. That, you know, I don't think you can go wrong with iRead. I'm exceptionally biased, but as someone who worked in libraries for a really long time, who was a member of, um, you know, the iRead committee prior to being in this role, like I just am so passionate about it, and I think when it comes down to it, this is an amazing asset to our state. Um, when did iRead start working on 2025? So we started working on 2025 in 2023. So we're working on 3 to 5 years at any given time. So right now we are finalizing incentives and that sort of thing for 2025. We just got the resource guide out. We're doing these webinars and all of this other stuff to get folks excited and get them familiar with the program. At the same time, we are currently working with the artists for 2026. They've sent us some rough sketches. The committee looks at those and provides feedback for any changes they may want to make or things that they really love that they want to see more of. And we'll finalize that art early next year. We are currently accepting submissions for the 2026 resource guide because we are starting to work on that. So if you want to talk about the way that you use iRead as marketing folks, like I would love to hear about that. I think it would be a real help to other folks in library land to hear from marketing folks. Let me know. Let's see, I'm going to put my email address in the chat. Feel free to reach out to me. And then we have just we're just finalizing the theme for 2027. So I'm going to back up a little bit. 2026, the broad theme is farm to table. It's funny because as a committee, we were going back and forth, back and forth. The chair brings in a handful of ideas for a general theme, and then the committee discusses what they think would be best for libraries. And we were going back and forth because they really liked the idea of doing like farms and barnyards. But the like older teen and adult librarians were like, I think we'd like to do food again. It's been a really long time since we had a food theme. And everybody was kind of going back and forth, but like, oh, you know, farm animals are so easy to do with younger kids. And, you know, you can talk about how agriculture works with adults and yada, yada, yada. And at some point, somebody was like, hey, you know what? Do you know where food comes from? It comes from farms. And so we were like, oh, farm to table. And so many libraries are in farmers markets over the summer anyway. A lot of libraries have seed libraries or community gardens or whatever the case may be. We're like, okay, this works great because there's so much for littles, but there's also going to be so much for teens and adults. Teens are really into like plants and growing and all of that other stuff. If you don't have a teen in your life or you don't work with teen librarians, it's really cool. They've gotten really into it. So we're really excited. And one of our artists for next year, if you all are, not next year, because that's 2026. If you all are picture book fans, we got Pete Oswald, who does the food series. So like Good Egg, Bad Seed, Cool Bean, all of those books. They're so lovely and so charming. And he's actually collaborating with the author, Joy John, to create the art for the program, and like ideas for spot art and that sort of thing. So we're super, super excited about that. And then 2027, like I said, the theme is sci-fi, so science fiction. We haven't done a genre-based iRead theme in a while. So we're super excited about that. And there's so many subgenres of science fiction that it's really, really a versatile theme. And we are just finalizing the tagline for that now and reaching out to artists. So we have 3 of our 4 artists semi-confirmed. And I'm hoping that by the end of the year, I'll have the 4th one confirmed and we'll be good to go. So yeah, so there is a little space in time where we're working on like starting in July, where we're working on 4 years. So in July is when we started talking about 2026 and 2027 more in depth. And so next July we'll have a new chair that comes into the committee, and they will pitch some ideas for themes, and then we'll go from there. If you all want to be members of the iRead committee, I don't think that we've ever had somebody that is in marketing on the committee, and that would be so exciting. One of the roles in the committee is our social media person. Um, Oh, that's so lovely. Cindy said, I so appreciate these tools and resources. They make my marketing job so much easier for summer reading. Thank you. It's truly my pleasure. Tam just put the interest form in the chat. You don't have to decide today. But we would love to have somebody with like a marketing brain on the committee. I think it would be really cool. A couple years ago, no, I'm telling an untruth, because a couple years ago we did have the communications and social media person from Skokie on the committee. And she helped us a ton because she was able to kind of look at it and give us a plan and give us some structure in a way that a librarian who uses social media uses social media cannot. Like we always want experts. That's what we want in libraries, and as librarians, is we want the people who know the things to come and work with us. So I invite you all. I know that you may not think about iRead as something that you can participate in, but you absolutely can. That's a great question. Donna asks, I would love to. Summer reading is my jam. I'd love to hear that. But I don't know that I would have the time. What is the commitment like? Great question. So we ask folks to attend all of our meetings. We have bi-monthly meetings. So they are kind of long sometimes. So they're on Fridays generally. We schedule them 11 to 3, which I know is a lot, but to be honest, there's only 1 or 2 meetings every year that actually go for the full time. And those are generally the meetings where we're talking about incentives. We have a meeting in February that is our most fun meeting, because we pass around all of the different options for incentives for the store for iRead, and we play with them and we give feedback, and it's really, really fun. And that's our like long meeting. But a lot of the time we're actually wrapped up by like 1-ish. In terms of posting, you probably have a way to post even more efficiently than we do. We schedule a lot of our social media stuff ahead of time. We love to have a few posts a week if possible. I think we're going to have the same conversation that a lot of the forums and committees are having around X, and if that's somewhere we still want to be. And so I think like there's other folks on the committee that can help you. We also always have 2 social media people on the committee at any given time. So there's a person that has been there for a year already, kind of shadowing the person that was before them. So you can collaborate on posts, or people can say like, oh, my October is bananas, but I can do all of November. So it's got some flexibility. And it is something, and we say this with a lot of the ILA stuff is that if you're volunteering to do this, it's something that you should try to do on work time, unless your library has explicitly said you cannot, in which case I totally understand. But all of my ILA work that I did up until I was in this position happened mostly on the clock. We love for our committee members to attend ILA and work in our booth. Again, it's just like a fun party time. We all get to see each other and hang out, and get really excited about seeing this program that we've been developing for years come to life and come to fruition. So if you're able to come to ILA, we do encourage that, but we also know that that's not something that everybody can do. So we have some flexibility in terms of commitment. And it's kind of, part of it is like, how much time do you have and are willing to put into it? You are welcome to come and to any of our meetings. Our meetings are open. And also I could connect you with our current social media folks, and they could give you a sense of kind of what it looks like. They do ask the committee a fair amount to be like, hey, here's a spreadsheet of, I don't know, what's your favorite game? Like, can as many committee members as possible, like, write a little something so that we can schedule a bunch of posts in advance about people's favorite games, and then have that kind of pre-made. And there's some stuff like that that we have just kind of baked into the program. Hopefully that answers your question. It probably is exceptionally long-winded, but I apologize. Is there anything else that I can answer questions? Again, my email is bboland@ila.org. Don't hesitate to reach out to me and ask any questions that you might have. If you ever have a general question, iREAD@ila.org is the way to go. There's a bunch of us that monitor that email, and we're happy to answer any questions you might have. We really pride ourselves on our customer service, so we would love to chat with you and help you however we can. I know that I'm the kind of person where sometimes it isn't until I've walked away from a webinar that I realize that I have questions. So please don't hesitate to reach out if you want to ask more nitty-gritty kind of questions, or you finally get that resource guide in front of you. Oh, a dog just walked in. And if you want me to answer any of that, or if you're looking at the guide itself and you're like, oh wow, there's a lot of content here and Becca talked about it and now I don't remember what any of this is, that's totally fine. Reach out to me and I'm happy to go over it with you. I'm happy to schedule a little meeting if you want to chat face to face. I just want to support you all however I can, because I think that not connecting with our folks in marketing a ton previously as ILA folks, or as iREAD folks, has done you all and done us a disservice. So
Well, thank you, Becca. That was a great presentation. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Again, thank you so much, Becca, for all of the wonderful information. We truly appreciate it. And I also want to put in a quick plug for the next ILA Marketing Forum event, which is going to be held Friday, December 6th from 11 a.m. to noon. That is a year-end review, marketing and communications lessons learned. Please feel free to register to attend that. Registration is required. It will not be recorded, but during this discussion, we'll ask you to share your hits and misses in Marcoms at your library. So please feel free to come and share so people can learn what you did, good and bad. We greatly appreciate that. So again, thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Becca, and we hope everyone has a great weekend. Thank you all.
bye everybody, take care.